At the start, it may feel like a way out, a way to deal with things, a short term fix, something that helps, even if only for a moment. But what happens when that moment turns into weeks, then months, then years? Because using drugs over time does not just change habits, it changes lives. This topic may be sensitive. This is about understanding, not judgment. Welcome back. In today's archives, we are talking about the long term effects of drug use, not just what happens right now, but what happens over time. Let's get into it. For many people, it does not start with addiction, it starts small: curiosity, stress, pain, sometimes even medicine from a doctor that slowly becomes something relied on. And in the beginning, it does not always look dangerous. There is no major warning sign, no immediate consequence because everything still feels in control. Life continues, responsibilities are handled, nothing seems out of place. But slowly, things begin to shift. The body starts adapting, tolerance begins to build, and what once felt like enough is no longer enough. So more is taken just to feel the same, and that is where the change begins. Over time, the body begins to take damage. Not all at once, but gradually. The brain starts to change, affecting how people think and make decisions. The body becomes dependent on something it once did not need. The heart begins to feel the strain. The liver works harder than it should. The lungs can slowly weaken. And the immune system becomes less effective, making it easier for illness to take hold. Sometimes the damage is not obvious right away, but underneath it all, it is happening. Then there is the mental side, and this part can be just as serious. Over time, people can start to feel more anxious. Some may feel low, some may feel overwhelmed. Focus becomes harder. Memory can begin to slip. Emotions can become unstable. What once felt manageable can start to feel overwhelming. And over time, the person someone used to be can slowly begin to fade, not all at once, but piece by piece, because it is no longer just a habit, it becomes dependence. And dependence changes everything. It does not stop with the body or the mind, it begins to change everyday life. Relationships can break down, trust becomes harder to maintain, opportunities start to disappear, jobs can be lost. Some people begin to isolate themselves, not always on purpose, but because everything starts to revolve around one thing: trying to feel normal again. And over time, that one thing takes priority over everything else. The effects of long term use do not always show up overnight. They build slowly, quietly, until one day the impact becomes clear, and by then the damage can run deep. But understanding these effects is where change begins. Because when people understand what is happening, they can start to make different choices earlier. So the real question is, how soon can those signs be noticed before it goes too far? Over time, one of the biggest effects people do not always realize is how long the impact can last. Even after someone stops using, the body and the mind do not return to normal right away. There can be physical discomfort, low energy, and changes in mood that feel difficult to control. Some people may feel restless, others may feel overwhelmed, and some may struggle to feel normal again. This happens because the body has adjusted over time, and now it has to adjust again. Without that substance, things can feel off, even when someone is trying to move forward. And this is where many people feel stuck, because it is not just about stopping, it is about rebuilding, rebuilding health, rebuilding habits, rebuilding stability, and sometimes even rebuilding relationships. That process can take time, and it does not happen overnight. For some people, it can take months. For others, it can take even longer. But the important part is understanding that recovery is a process, and that process requires patience, it requires support, and it requires a clear understanding of what long term use can really do. Because when people understand the full picture, they can make better decisions earlier before the effects go too far. And sometimes that understanding is what makes the difference between continuing down the same path and choosing something different. Over time, the effects do not just stay in the body, they begin to change how a person sees the world. Things that once felt normal can start to feel different. Simple tasks can feel harder to complete. Motivation can begin to fade. Some people may notice they have less energy during the day. Even after resting, they may feel tired more often, and it can become harder to stay focused. This can affect daily routines and make it more difficult to stay consistent. Over time, this can begin to slow progress in life. Goals may be delayed, plans may be pushed back, and it can feel like things are not moving forward. There can also be changes in how people respond to stress. Situations that once felt manageable can begin to feel overwhelming. Reactions may become stronger than before. This can make communication more difficult and lead to more conflict in relationships. Over time, trust can begin to change, not just with others, but with oneself. Some people may begin to question their own decisions and feel unsure about the direction they are going. This can create a cycle where it becomes harder to break old habits and easier to fall back into the same patterns, but understanding these changes is an important step because once something is understood, it can be addressed, it can be worked on, and it can begin to improve. With time and effort, people can begin to rebuild, they can begin to create new routines and make better choices for their future. And even though the process may take time, progress is still possible step by step. Day by day, change can happen and things can begin to move in a better direction.
If you like deep conversations like this, grab your STJ merch and a copy of the Spilling the Juice book series at spillingthejuice.com. Also available on Amazon and all major book platforms. STJ Archives, signing off.